Okay, our first podcast, I'd like to welcome Ally Cupples from Northern Ireland as the first guest. We're new to this game, Ali, so um, if you'd just like to share a bit of where you came from, where you come from, your age, and how you got here to Liverpool, Ali.
I'm Ally from Northern Ireland. I'm 40 years old and I came here a year ago next week. So I'll give you a bit of a background then of what's happened and how I came to come here. So um, I came from a good family, good upbringing, never wanted for anything. My mum and dad would have had to have gone without quite a lot for me and my wee brother to have, but we got regardless. So I didn't really have any complaints. I mean, I've come across a lot of stories from Victory Outreach here that people have had a lot of problems, but I was fortunate enough to have a good upbringing, good childhood, and kicked a bit of football when I was younger. It was quite good. Like, I played for Northern Ireland, went to Spurs, Swindon Town and Hearts.
Did you?
Yeah, and I kind of thought that life was made and that I was going to play football for a living.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. As I got a bit older then, through school friends and school, I started drinking and taking drugs, and the football thing sort of fell to the wayside. And after that then, I continued drinking and taking drugs.
How old were you? How old were you when you were like the rest of us? I suppose we were young, and you're on a good path. You've good family there. But what age were you when you started to?
I was probably about 14, 15 when acid was brought into school.
That was the first thing.
And that was the first thing. I'd had a few tins of beer.
So that's
with the
for
boys,
anyone that doesn't know, LSD, isn't it?
LSD, yeah. So I tried that, a couple of times. Not big amounts of it. A wee bit was too much for me anyway. I didn't like it,
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the start of things, and I remember having a walk with a friend of mine, on a Sunday morning, heading down to his house, and he told me that we were 15, and he says I took my first E last night, and I'm like, I played football. I know drugs to me were a bad thing, and I was like thinking to myself,
What am I doing?
I would never. You're first. I'll never do that.
Yeah.
But little did I know that that's exactly what I would have done, and that's where things led to.
Yeah. So after that, after the same again for me, it was like saying you always say, even did you smoke cigarettes?
I didn't smoke cigarettes until I got a lot older, but I did smoke cannabis. Started off with pipes and then ended up smoking joints, and I ended up smoking after that by going out to the bars, drinking and smoking with the boys outside, and
so the football career
that all went to the
that
wayside.
just went.
Yep.
And how bad would you have got when you started off? Give us a little insight of Northern Ireland, how you got money, or how bad it got. How did you get money? Were you working?
I was
What were
working.
you doing?
I was always working, so it was. The weekends were a big thing for me. Through the week, I wouldn't have been. I would have smoked. I would have smoked cannabis through the week. It was drinking and taking drugs weren't the be all and end all until the weekend, and then it was the whole weekend.
Yeah.
But sooner or later, that turned into more than that, and I started taking them through the week as well.
Did you?
So, like, I was taking them through the week, and then I had a relationship from I was 17 with a girl. We ended up getting married, and the two of us done what we done together, and the drink had taken a hold. I lost my job when the recession kicked in, and then I started drinking heavily, and me and her broke up. I told her I had done something one boxing night where I got really drunk, and there was people over to the house, and I woke up the next day and she was like, "Oh, you really showed your true colours last night. Now everybody knows what you're really like." Thank the Lord, I do not to this day know what I done that night.
But it wasn't good.
But it wasn't good. So through that, then I gave drink up. For like 3 months, I hadn't done anything, and the Lord started to speak to me. I started to have a pull to go to church, and I said to her about 3 months later, I was like, "Do you know what? I think I'm going to go back to church, because when I was young, my granny always took me to church."
Did she?
And I had heard the gospel,
Right.
and it had never left me, even though I was doing my own
Young
thing.
age, yeah.
So when I told her I was going to go to church, she was like, "Well, you can, but I'm not." And it was only months later then that she says, look, I've had enough, and she left. So at age 29, my wife had left me. I was a recluse, drinking, taking drugs by myself, and I thought my life was over. I was like, how am I ever supposed to meet anybody now? I don't even know where I would start. But I did what I said I was going to do, and I went off to church, and I got saved in 2010 in July, and 6 months later I met my wife, and we had 2 wee boys, Daniel and Joshua.
Yeah.
So I was living right then for the first few years, and life was good. The Lord blessed me with everything that I ever wanted. I had the house and the car, the job, my wife, 2 beautiful boys, and I took my eyes off the Lord. I started to go to church less, I started to lift my Bible less, started to pray less, and before I knew it, I was out collecting pizza one night and bought 2 small bottles of wine. It wouldn't even have affected me, but I'd done it.
Do you remember the start of the downfall?
That was the start. That was the day things changed. You know, when I threw the bottles out the car window, and I didn't drink again for a week or 2 after that, and again something small, but it was the compromise that let everything back in. And you know, and in the Bible verse it says that the demons will return 7 times worse. Is so true. You know?
It is.
So I did that, and eventually the drink turned back into drugs, and I lost my wife.
What kind of drugs?
Cocaine. That was it.
It's coke
that
and
was
drink.
the big thing for me, like, you know, it was the drink, but it was more the drink, you know.
Yeah.
And even when
how much would you drink in a day? Like,
I was drinking 2 bottles of whiskey a day before I got here.
That's how bad it got.
Two bottles of whiskey, yeah.
Yeah, as we've seen from the testimony you shared online, the pictures.
Yeah, so there was drink. There was the big thing.
The demon.
But along with drink, when you're drunk, then you do things that you wouldn't normally do, and that's when the other things came in.
Yeah.
You know, so that's like I decided. I had a wee business. The wife left me, and I haven't seen my children now. Gone 3 years because of my own attitude and because of the things that I've done, and I don't blame anybody else for that but myself.
Yeah.
But I started a business then before I got here, and I had stopped drinking from the Christmas before that. So about 1.5 years ago, I'd stopped drinking.
Just how did you?
I went back to church.
Did you?
Yeah, and I was doing all right for a while, but I hadn't fully surrendered.
Right.
So I started to drink again.
Yeah.
Whenever the lockdown came in, and I had a wee business car valeting, and I was drinking every day, and that's when things took real bad. So I reached out for help, and I contacted a wee man called Chris Killen.
Right. And
Chris, I didn't know where I was going, but the Lord knew, and it was Victory Outreach. I'd never heard of Victory Outreach before. All I knew was I had a choice of going to Dublin or to Liverpool, but Chris recommended Liverpool, and I said, well, I'll go.
Let's do it. Yeah.
But I didn't know at that stage that 1 year later I would still be here. You know, for me it was like, I'll go for a couple of weeks and I'll see how I get on.
Yeah.
That turned into 3 months, turned into 6 months, and now I'm sort of pushing towards the end of things, you know.
Yeah.
But like when I first came here, people back home, when you have addiction problems and when you're seen as a problem, full stop, people don't understand. They don't know what to say to you. They can't reason with you.
Can't get through to you.
They have nothing to say that you're going to listen to, because to them they're just telling you to stop it.
Yeah, you can.
But it's not as easy as that.
Yeah.
So when I came here and I'm surrounded by people who cared, surrounded by people who've been in the same situation, surrounded by people going through the same problems, you know,
it helps.
It really got through to me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I gave my life to the Lord again, 10 years later, nearly to the month, and He's changed my life completely since I've got here. You know.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to my wife again. We're talking and we're on nice enough terms, but I haven't spoken to my wee boys yet. But I know that the Lord will restore that. When
of course He will. Of course He will. You're on a great path, Rory. You're on a great path. I've seen you from the time you come in, and I've seen you know what you're going through, and it's great to see. it's great to see, and this is why we're doing what we're doing, is to let people know that we, you know, wrote off in society, B2B, as you were, and you had a business. Do you know what I mean? You had your life doing, and then the drink just got a hold of you. The drugs took it worse. You've lost everything, but you're back on track now.
Yeah,
and it's amazing the testimonies that we see coming through Victory Outreach. Do you know what I mean? What did you think of Victory Outreach when you got here?
Well,
when you first came into the Victory Outreach, I got up the next day.
Thankfully, I'd been to a Pentecostal church before, so I knew that the worship was different, because my church background would be traditional church, where you go into church and
fairly
you sing.
Quiet.
Yeah, you know, you say hello to people. It's like hello, and that's it. And here in the Pentecostal church and Victory Outreach, you get love, you know, and people show their happiness, you know.
Yeah.
So when I first came here, I kind of knew what to expect, but even at that, it was still a bit out there, you know.
Yeah.
Seeing the joy on the boys' faces in the mornings, it was like, wow, this is unreal.
Yeah.
Getting to hear how people who come from 20 years addiction of heroin, you know, standing praising the Lord in the mornings with smiles on their faces, was like, wow, this is insane. Like,
yeah, it does be, doesn't it? When you see some of the stories around you, it makes yours kind of, well, if they can get through this, I can get. It gives you a bit of hope, doesn't it?
Definitely. You know?
It did for me as well. Yeah, when I came in, but it's great. It's great to hear you talk, Roddy, because I see, Ali, I seen you when you come in, and when you see people come in, people don't see the tears. They don't see the hardship we go through. They see the outcome now. But they don't see what we go through in that process of going through the home. That share some of the stuff that you'd go through, what you went through in the home.
First thing that springs to my mind when we talk about the home is, in the world, people who have addiction problems, how they cope is go to addiction. How I cope with things that hurt me, you know, about my kids, about my wife, about the regrets that I had, was to cope by going to addiction. When I came to the home, I didn't have that option.
Yeah.
You know, you're not surrounded by that. There's none of it around you. The people aren't like that. So I had to learn the tools to cope with normal things in life. Things that annoyed me, things that I hurt over, things that I regret over. You know, and I wasn't able to mask it. So I had to deal with it. And the emotional roller coaster that you go on through the home it gives you the tools that you need to get through day-to-day life, you know, and
what
like,
kind of share some of the I'm sure you've had tests coming through.
Well, you know,
share a little bit
we all test each other in the home.
We
you
do,
know, you're surrounded by 10 to 12
lunatics.
Men, you know, who, you know, like we're all put. So I find buttons on me that I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
You know, and then like when you're in the home any length of time and you become staff.
Yeah, you're raising up. You're going to different levels, isn't it?
Then you're dealing with boys that are just in, who are still full of the world, and you know you've shaken off some of your old habits, but you're having to deal with other people's habits.
Yeah.
So the character that you grow in the home is you could not get that anywhere else.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I once said to Brother Alan, like not that long ago, I believe firmly that if you can do the men's home in Liverpool, that you can do anything in life.
Yeah.
You know, it's not giving up when things get tough. It's not basically throwing your toys out of the pram when you don't get your own way. When you get told that 2-letter word, no. You know, no,
none of us like.
You can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, you can't go there. No, that's not happening.
And that's what we've been missing. You know, why we went off track.
We're used to doing what we want, when we want, how we want, and it didn't matter who got hurt in the process. We didn't even think about who we were hurting. We just done what we thought was right. You know.
Yeah, that's right. And it is what you're saying. When the new lads come in and you're maturing a bit, and you're getting on a bit, you're able to give back then, isn't it?
Yeah,
iron sharpens iron and all that.
Yep, and to see, for me, going through the home, becoming staff and then head staff and then completing the home and getting ready for graduation now. There's some of the fellas in the home that came in after me, And you see what way they come in. Like the first person that springs to my mind now is young Josh Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
When he came in, I was staff, and he was a nightmare.
Oh, he'd push the buttons.
Yeah, but we're the best of friends now, you know.
Yeah,
and the difference that the home has made to him, and the difference that him giving his life to the Lord has made, is turned him into a man. You know, that's the process.
And that's what it does for us, isn't it?
It really does, yeah.
Yeah, it's great to hear. It's great to hear your testimony, Ali, because you're on a good path now, and you will get to speak to your kids, and whatever's in your future, you know, you just like the home, you just have to stick with it, you know, and that's what we do. We learn from like the pastor, Brother Alan, all different leaders, you know what I mean, and when we get told now, it does be tough, doesn't it? But we need that.
Yeah.
We need that. People don't understand that. Do you know what I mean? Why we go to church, they think, you know what I mean, we're a holy roll, whatever they want to say, but we need that discipline. We need it there brainwashed. Do you know what I mean? From
100%.
what we put into our life. But it's great to see it. So, what you're coming up to graduation?
Coming up to graduation, next week I'll be here a year.
Wow, that's what they're flying in.
Yeah, like what I want to do now is help people who think that there is no hope. Because I didn't think, I've made that phone call to Chris Killen, and I was desperate. You know, a friend of mine called down to my wee car vaulting place and said, you're not living, yourself. You're just existing. Yeah. You know, and like you don't see how bad you are. You might know, but you're not admitting it to yourself, you know. Yeah. So I want to give hope to people who think that it's hopeless, and you don't have to be in addiction to be broken. You know, there's plenty of people stuck in depression. Like Jesus set me free from addiction and depression. Yeah. I was on quite high antidepressants, and I was in the home 2 weeks, and we're only after coming a walk back from the park, and it dawned on me, I haven't taken my antidepressants in 2 weeks, and I feel great. Yeah. You know, it was like amazing. Wow. Because 3 or 4 days of not taking them, and anybody that know me back home would tell you, 3 or 4 days not taking them, I was ready to like throw a lunatic. I was severely depressed. I don't have that anymore. I don't have that depression. We all have troubles, and life gets tough, and there's things that we don't like and all, but the depression's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Defeated. Yeah, that's it. You know, set free. The Bible says, "Who the Son sets free is free indeed." Set free from addiction, set free from alcohol, set free from drugs. Yeah. Never to return to it again. Yeah, you know, brilliant. Praise the Lord. And so what do you hope for your future, Ali? Besides, you know, giving hope back and giving things back into the community, what would you like? Well, I've been doing the online Bible college through Victory Outreach. I'm going to keep doing that. Deadly, brilliant. And graduate that and become an associate pastor at Victory Outreach, and I hope and pray that someday Victory Outreach come to Northern Ireland, and I'll link back up with the church. Yeah. But I'm gonna continue in my studies. Brilliant. Because the Lord's changed my life completely, and no matter what life throws at me, or no matter what I do, I know that I need that deep foundation of the Scripture. So, you know, even going into the streets to help people homeless and people in addiction, when they ask you things, and people are people. When you give them an answer, they might call you up on it and say, but what about this? Why does God let this happen? Why does that happen? Yeah. I wanna give answers to that stop them in their tracks. Yeah, and make them think and lead them to the Lord. Yeah, because it is sometimes it's hard to get across to people that have been hurt so bad by life or whatever. But it's a testimony just to say, listen, just try it. You know. Just try the Lord. It worked for us. It might work for you, but it's a great testimony, Ali, and I thank you for coming on and having the courage to sit here with me today. It's been great. Opening this up, we had fun today, didn't we? Setting it all up. Yeah. But we'll leave it there, Ali. I thank you for coming on and sharing that. It's brave, and that's the first one. So praise the Lord. I just. Before you go, Ali, I encourage you to stay strong and courageous coming up to your graduation. You're going to graduate, and you're going to stay grounded, you know what I mean? You're doing great, and keep it up. I just want to say thanks. Right, fair play to you. Nice one. Thanks you. For having me. God bless. You're welcome. Amen. Okay.